We're back with former Vice President Dick Cheney. Mr. Vice President, you knew Justice Scalia socially, you knew him professionally. Was he the same in private as he was that public glimpses that we received when we saw him in public?
Generally, yes, but it was a very complex individual and person. There were many facets of his personality that were very appealing and very attractive, whether it was as perhaps the greatest conservative jurist of his time, on the one hand, discussing major matters, public speeches, the opinions he wrote on the court, and on the other hand, you could go out in the duck blind and spend the day and enjoy it very much. A totally different side of his personality. He loved life, and it was great fun to be around.
I want to ask you about a couple of other items. Russian Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev said the U.S.-Russia relationship has devolved into another Cold War, in his words. President Vladimir Putin has talked about things in aggressive statements as well in recent days. What do you think Russia's ambitions are now?
Well, I think they perceive weakness on the part of the United States and the Obama administration. I think they've acted accordingly. We've seen their move, for example, into Ukraine, more recently into Syria. I think he would like very much to reclaim part of the old Soviet empire, if you will. He'd like to undermine NATO, maybe find ways to peel off the Baltics from a membership in NATO. And I think he thinks he can get away with that because he's gotten away with so much already. The relationship that he's had with President Obama has primarily been based up, I think, on a perception on his part that Obama is pretty easily to push around, and he's done it.
North Korea has launched a rocket capable of carrying a nuclear payload. All experts say on the subject of North Korea, there's a lot of fault to go around with Democrat and Republican administrations, including the one you worked for. What would you do about the increasingly aggressive nature of North Korea?
Well, I think we've got to go back and resume the course we were on before the Obama election. We'd worked very hard, in the Reagan administration especially, and then Bush administration, on missile defense and on being able to deploy the capability to shoot down incoming missiles. Specifically, we negotiated an agreement with the Poles and the Czechs that they would take the radars and the interceptors and be able to field missiles capable of shooting down hostile missiles, ballistic missiles coming especially from Iran, for example, in the Middle East. Once we got that negotiated and ready to go, as soon as Obama came into office, he canceled the whole program. He's cut deeply into the THAAD program. This is the basic defense system we've got that we deploy on the West Coast. We're talking about now deploying with the South Koreans. I think the best thing we can do is make absolutely certain we have the defenses necessary to take down anything that the North Koreans might shoot at us or our friends in the region. We can do it. We have the technical capability to do it, but we've got to get a new president and new leadership before he'll proceed on that basis. It's another case where this administration has backed up and gone soft, if you will, in terms of their responsibilities for defending the nation.
Finally, you haven't weighed in, I don't think, on the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails. There are, I think, almost 1,700 now that listed as classified. What's your take on this investigation and where it's heading?
All I know is what I see in the press, but it's a very serious matter, Brett. You've got Secretary of State who should know better. All of us who hold those positions, I did at Defense or as Vice President, you're briefed thoroughly and reminded constantly of the sensitivity of the materials you're dealing with. I do not understand why they set up a separate system. I've never heard an explanation of why she needed a personal email that was, in fact, had classified information into it. It doesn't make sense to me. But I think if you look at what's happened in other cases, the Sandy Berger, who was Bill Clinton's assistant during his years, he got into trouble with mishandling classified information in the National Archives. We saw what happened to General Petraeus. I think this is a matter that is very serious and needs to be pursued, and it does raise questions, in my mind anyway, about the fitness of Secretary Clinton to serve as Commander-in-Chief.
Vice President Cheney, thank you for your time. Our condolences for the loss of your friend, Justice Scalia.
Thanks, Brett.